Here we go. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. With me is one amazing person that I want to introduce you to. But before we even get into having a conversation with her, I want to take the moment to formally introduce her. It's so exciting to have, just like me, she's a mother of not only one, two, I have two kids. She has 5 kids, you guys. And not only that, a 5 times author, a book medium, podcast host, writing coach, and a CEO of Freedom House Publishing Company. She supports leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives in learning how to channel their work, create business spiritually, and write books with ease. Keira hosts daily show on Instagram where she channels books with authors, and on a daily YouTube series to support entrepreneurs called God is My Business Plan. She believes that mothers are masters of creation and make the best entrepreneurs. So please help me, without any further ado, welcome Keira Poulsen. Keira, welcome to my show.
This is an honor. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. So I'm sure the audience is just excited as I am. So please, let's start with getting to know you a bit. What is your story, Keira? Tell us, how did it all started? Who are you, and what inspired you to do what you do today?
So I think I've been dancing with entrepreneurship since I was 12. I actually started a dance studio in my parents' garage, teaching dance to the whole neighborhood for $12 a month. So entrepreneurship has just always been in me. And I've had multiple businesses throughout my life. I was a massage therapist for almost 20 years. I was a photographer for 10. So I always was in the creation, right? Just always side hustle. I became a healer and I had a healing business, but it was always very side, very side, right? Like maybe an hour a week, two hours a week, something for my soul. I was raising 5 little children. But what birthed the fire now was a hard situation. This wasn't like wasn't driving down the road and had a really great idea. Like it was a very hard time. It was February 17th, 2017. And I had all these trauma memories resurface, and childhood trauma. And it was so intense. It was like this flood of trauma pain that had just been pushing back. And I wanted to end my life. It was like, I'm not going to live in a world where there's this much pain. And in that moment, I feel like I heard God say, stop, you have work to do. And somewhere deep inside of me chose to live. And when I chose to live, I also made like a kind of like a contract with God. Like in that moment, I said, all right, God, if I'm going to live in a world where there's trauma and pain and hell and all of this really hard stuff, then you better show me why I'm here. And when you show me, I'll do everything I'm inspired to do. I'm not sure really why that's the commitment that came out of that moment, but it is the commitment. And my life changed from that second on. And every creation and every business and everything that has happened since that day has been divinely guided. And it has been like my lifeblood. Like, this is why I'm here. I feel like I had like a new life appeared on that day.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. So I think in a way, Keira, you and I, another story that we share is that my wake-up call was, I'm not sure if I shared on previous occasions, but the audience, I mean, there's no secret that I actually lost my best friend to suicide the week of my wedding. Wow. Through depression and everything, which reminded me not too long ago, I was also having suicidal thoughts too. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, she took the route she did, but then it was almost like my calling to vow to myself. I did almost the same thing to you, Keira, that I said, no one ever has to go through what I went through. That was craziness. I mean, getting married, and then I buried her July 4th and my wedding was July 7th. She was supposed to be part of the wedding party.
So
So
sorry.
yeah, and that honestly was the reason why I started my business, was like, whatever I know, I'm supposed to teach. Maybe
Yeah.
this painful experience is what I'm supposed to teach, to let women know that no matter what it is that they're going through, if they can get past it, and yes, they can get past it, that, whatever on the other side is worth living for.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful. I did not know your story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And so that's not to diminish your experience at all, but
No.
really say that perhaps maybe that was God's way of speaking to me, but I didn't, I guess, understand the signs. But
Yeah.
to share something related to what you said is because I was suffering from two miscarriages in between two of my
Mm.
kids.
Mm.
And that was actually on another moment where I was also told, perhaps by God, because I feel like I'm like the baby Christian, that
Mm.
again, your experience, whatever you're going through, is meant to happen for greater reasons. You may not have to know the reasons now, but keep going. And that's when I start, honestly, I think almost 3 years now, start reading the Bible, start learning, things like that. So
Wow. Oh my gosh. It's beautiful. This is a part of my path is, the first thing that God asked me to do is write a book. And I say God, for me, it's God. It could be source, it could be energy, whatever, whoever, anybody's listening, like my divine source that I believe gives me inspiration. It was very clear I was to write a book. So I started to write this book called The Hidden Gifts Within the Trauma of Sexual Abuse. That was my trauma growing up. And as I'm writing the book, I hear so clearly, start a publishing house. Now, mind you, like I'm not a coach. Like I don't have any experience in publishing. I know nothing, but I was fresh off of this commitment. So I was like, sure. How do I start a publishing house? So I start researching. I like had a baby. I'm like nursing a baby while I'm in the lawyer's office, like getting all the trademark for this publishing house that I didn't even know what I was doing. Right. Like it was like I remember being in the lawyer's office with this trademark. I have 5 kids and like I have 3 boys first, then a girl, then a boy. My 3 boys are really close together and they're like cartwheeling in the lawyer's office. They're like doing like ninja jabs and I was like nursing a baby. Like, what am I doing? I don't know. God asked me to build a publishing house. Like, here we are. So I make this publishing house and then it just like sits there. Like, why am I doing this? And then I get swept into the coaching world and I start coaching women and finding their purpose and waking up their gifts and waking up their passion. And I think it was like 2 years later, someone in my mastermind where I was coaching women on creation, she's like, I have a book. Where do we publish it? And I was like, oh my gosh, I own a publishing house. Let's figure it out. And that's how Freedom House actually was birthed.
that is crazy. And you know what?
Yeah.
I was totally like starstruck because one of my previous clients was published by you.
Oh, who? Can you tell me? Maybe I don't know if you can tell me.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
Okay.
let's
Yeah.
just, yeah. But she said, I don't know. But and you guys do book
Mm.
contracts and such, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a book contract with you guys. Let's
Mm.
just say with, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. This is very exciting.
Yes.
Um,
And that's why when I heard about you, I said, no way, that's amazing. And sometimes that's how it works, right? Like we attract who we want in our circle. And like so anyways, we're getting sidetracked. I'm so excited.
no, it's so
And
fun.
so go on.
Okay.
You
So
started,
I missed one of my favorite parts of the story, which is that I had put, opened a bank account for Freedom House, but I put like $200 in and every month they, take a little bit of money out for being in it. And after about 2 years, I get this letter that says you have $14 left in your bank account for Freedom House. I'm like, why did I ever open that publishing house? Like that was so dumb. Why did God inspire me to do that? So I go to the bank and I go to close it and I audibly hear, like, stop. So I'm like, throw another $100 in. And it was literally like a month. I don't know. It was very quickly after that moment that my client came to me and asked me, how do I publish? And I was like, let's figure it out. So it's my favorite story because it's always when you want to quit, right when you're about to shut it down, close the bank account, that the next thing is the thing that's going to take you to where you need to go. And I mean, it would be a really great story if I'm like, and then we just blew up. But like, no, that's not how it went. Like then it was like 2 more years. Like the first year was me trying to publish, which is a hot mess because I'm a visionary and I am a creative and I am wild ADD all over the place. And here publishing is like very organized and very systematic. And I was like, I hate this. So then after a year, I brought my sister in, who's the total opposite of me. She's extremely organized. She's like loves Excel sheets. You know what I mean? Like loves them. And she's so amazing. And so I taught her how to publish. And now she's our publishing guide. And I get to just help authors channel their books. And it's like magic. We've had a new book drop every week since May.
Wow.
It's now September. Like it's been nuts. And so I just stand in awe of the miracles, but the miracles didn't happen overnight. Like this has been consistent faith in action over and over and over. And there's still so much for us to do and grow.
Yeah. And I think you're hitting a really important point. And honestly, was one of my intentions for this particular show is yes, right, to really inspire people to take that next step, but more so to allow them to see that everything is a journey and that we need to stick with it, especially entrepreneurship. I mean, we can be always optimistic, but there are going to be, chances are, challenges and what things that we need to overcome. And it's not an overnight, every story we hear seems like an overnight success, but it's not. And you're getting to a really important point, which segues into my next question for you is, what are some, pivotal moments of your career, a couple of challenges that you had to really overcome to get to, where you are today? This would really help show the audience that it does not have to be perfect, on their runway,
Yeah.
However, before they can actually take off, they have to have the courage to even run, to even start.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Oh, this is my favorite conversation because I used to be a perfectionist, and it got deleted when I started entrepreneurship. Like it was just deleted because there's no room. And even today, like I'm launching a new book. It's actually going to be live on Monday, called God is My Business Plan. And I launched it. I wrote it in so fast, and we didn't have time for it to be like 3 times edited, only 1 time edited. And usually we edit 3 times, but I needed it for this event. I'm speaking at this massive event on Friday. And I was so determined that every person in the audience would have this guidebook. And I was going through it, and it's missing some periods and it's missing some commas. And I'm like, you know what? This can change someone's life, even if it's missing some periods. And that's what we have to get to in entrepreneurship is this book can change someone's life. This book can take them out of fear and into success. Who cares if there aren't periods in certain sentences? Like that's where we have to be as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. This is like what you're saying and what my mentor has said is like ringing in my ears. It's like same thing. His when he wrote it, it was within like 2 weeks. I don't know how long it took yours, but he literally was like, no, put it out. And then his coach was like, are you sure about this? And then he's like, yes. And then automatically within the week when it was published came like bestseller. And then he had some like scholarly people call and were like, you're missing the spelling. And he's like, great, thank you, because it's a bestseller right now. I appreciate it. The feedback.
Right.
It's the content. It's the heart. It's the
Mm-hmm.
teaching. It's not the grammar, the commas, like you said. And, I don't think I shared this with you either, but my first book is coming out as well.
What?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yes. And the same thing, I could have sat and edited 10 more times.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't. And I think that is just to really stand by what I'm teaching. And this book is called The Overcomer, How to Conquer Your Fear to Achieve Your Goals.
I love it.
And I'm going to sit here and be a perfectionist about how it's going to be and what it's going to look like. And so that's a really great lesson that you're actually teaching, because it's true. Like there's no such thing as perfectionist, like being perfectionistic, right? And entrepreneurship, because everything is about failing forward. We talk about that. It's failure is actually feedback
Yeah.
versus, if we don't, and every single person or successful person we see have to overcome so much more. Like they have failed so much more, so many more times before they can get successful. So what that would be your big piece. And what else would you say to these women who, I know I'm speaking for myself prior to, right? Like my
Yeah.
past self of, oh, I don't know if my story is good enough to be told, right?
Mm,
I feel like I want to share my story, or if I want to write a book,
yeah.
but I don't know if anyone's going to care to read it. What do you have to say to these women?
Well, I have to say that writing your book is going to free you. That's why it's called Freedom House. It's a house of freedom. We free authors. It frees you. So who cares if one human in this world is going to read it? If it's going to give you freedom, everything else is going to work. So freedom here in our bodies allows us to have freedom and success in business. Writing and sharing our stories liberates us. So that's it. If there's a story in your heart, it's time to write it. That's just the way it goes. But I also believe that there's somebody on this earth who they could only learn the message through your story.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about, we all have our own recipes of our life. And my recipe is going to be the recipe that teaches somebody the principle, the lesson that nobody else has been able to teach them. And if it saves one person from suffering, if it wakes up one human in their gifts, then holy hell, yes, it. We have to get over this whole like, and then it's going to be a bestseller. Like, it's all an algorithm. Like, let's just go and serve humanity. And now we like get out of the way.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's amazing. Yeah, I have a similar story too. One of the reasons why I think my moment was long time ago, but when I was basically got a testimonial from basically this person who was saying why they did the program they did, and why they enrolled into it. And not only did it change her life, it's actually prevented her from taking her own life the following day.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately that. It's like your message is meant for that one person that you're meant to like serve or save.
Yeah. And it will. I know everybody listening has that one author who their book changed their lives. For me, it was Florence Scovel Shinn. Her book magically appeared in my Audible. I never bought it. It just was sent by my angels and it changed my life. If she hadn't written her words, I wouldn't be here. Like her words taught me how to create success. Her words taught me how to live a life of faith. Her words changed my life. She died a really long time ago, I think like 1940, right? And her words lived way beyond her life. Why? Because she published a book. And that's why this is my business. I'm like, let's let everybody's messages live beyond their life.
Mm-hmm.
Change people's lives beyond your own. That's magic.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. And honestly, I was just thinking about my children. Like I always wished that my grandpa would have left something behind, like a book of stories of things, experiences that he had in his previous life, but he couldn't. So now same thing. I think about my kids, the people, right? Yeah, that's ultimately, you have heard it, audience. Your story is meant to be shared to that one special person, no matter where he or she is from, none of that. So yeah. And now you know of an amazing publishing company. I'm not gonna say whose, but this is fantastic. Okay, so with the work that you have been doing, now you're the publishing company. What is your ultimate vision for Freedom House for you? And like you said, you want to serve humanity. What is your vision with all of this and how it come into play?
I have big visions. I see Freedom House being up one of the top publishing houses, really right next to Hay House. But I also see it being that we publish people who have 1 follower and 1 million followers. We publish all, there's a house of freedom. So it's like everybody gets to be in this Freedom House family. And that feels really good to my heart. So this vision that like We can have the mom who's writing a book just to write a book next to like a Gabby Bernstein, and they get to be in the same publishing house. That feels really magical to me. I also have a nonprofit that I am in the works of that actually is here to help people with suicide ideation. Since that has been my struggle in my life, that's part of my Give It Forward. And so it's called Centers of Hope. This is something I hope to create very soon. And a percentage of Freedom House will always go into the Centers of Hope. So I see it being this really beautiful cycle, bringing in authors, helping them liberate their voices, publish their words, change the world, and then in the back end, also saving lives. So just like a lot of deep gratitude that this gets to be the work I do.
Oh my gosh. This is amazing. Thank you so much for, yeah, all that you are doing. Thank you, God, for, saving Grace and showing you the reason why you should be here, because look at the work that you're doing. I know you're going to be a tremendous value to our audience when they get to hear about what you're sharing. So how can they get to know you even more? How can they tap into being a part of your community?
Yeah, so they can actually come play with me every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I have a live show where anybody can come on and we channel books. So I'm a medium, which means I can spiritually hear people's books. Like they give me messages. And when people work with me, they write their books really fast because I put them in this like momentum portal, right? So anybody can do that, which is in my bio on my Instagram, Keira Poulsen. Just go get on the calendar. That's like the fastest way to connect one-on-one. But I have courses. I have a mastermind that's amazing where I have leaders who are ready to build their work with a published book as well. So if anyone wants to jump in and play for 6 months, that's where I go, or we just publish people. So if anyone just has a manuscript in their heart, we've got an extraordinary team, and you will join the Freedom House family, which is a family of changing humanity. And it's a house of freedom.
Oh, so fantastic. So great. Yeah. And having this conversation really also reminds me of, yes, there's truly still that higher level of humanity. People do care that we all really are striving on connections and that we need to be a part of this community and staying inspired by continue to impact. So thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate it. And I know the audience is too. So yeah, thank you again for everything that you are and what you do and all of it. Thank you.
I so appreciate it. Thank you for letting me come on this show. This was a total joy.
Thank you.